Hello everyone, my name is Jamie Walker, Jamie Romero, I believe, in some of the online classes, and this is my assessment and special education review over the semester of spring of 2021. Let's get started. So today in my presentation, this is a preview. What we're going to talk about is the least restrictive environment, what that means and how it pertains to special education, the assessment process, parent involvement in the assessment process, and derived scores and how that also helps in the assessment process in least restrictive environment. So least restrictive environment, what is it? So LRE, or least restrictive environment, is a principle that guides the child's education program. The special education law, or the law of IDEA, the Individuals with Disability Education Act, helps protect students and parents in saying that every student deserves free, appropriate education. And the key word there is appropriate. Least restrictive environment is going to look different for every student. We do this through the IEP process, and this is inclusion for students. So, like I said again, that least restrictive environment is going to look different for every student. We're going to analyze through the assessment process that we'll talk about here later, and determine what a least restrictive environment means for your student. So every student's going to look different. Some people are going to be in a general education classroom all the time, and they're going to have resources, supplementary aids, and services within that general education classroom. And some students are not going to be in the general education classroom all the time. Some students may be in there for some subjects and not others. Some students may be able to be in a separate classroom. Some may be pulled to the side with a TA or a para. Everyone's least restrictive environment is going to look different, and so are their services and their aids. And we do that and we determine that through the assessment process, which we'll talk about now. So the assessment process is a cycle, and we say it's a cycle because revised outcomes are implemented and students' learning is evaluated following a process that may lead to further revision. So what that means is we take our data, we analyze, we evaluate, we determine, and we recommend. We take all this information and it may not work. So then we revise again. We do the process again in order to determine what's going to work, what doesn't work, what is working, and we do it again. And so what the components of special education assessment process are is we collect the data. So we do the assessments, we collect it, we analyze those, determine if there are patterns in the collection of data, we evaluate, so we find their strengths, we find their weaknesses, we determine what we're going to do with this data, and then we recommend. We put in our services, we come up with a plan, or through our IEP process. And that includes parents, special educators, that could be members of the staff, interpreters if needed, parents. All of these people come together as a team to do this. And then we want to encourage, like I said, part of this team are parents, and we want to encourage family participation within the assessment process. The assessment process, again, involves all those people, including parents, and we can encourage parents to be involved in the assessment process through communication, commitment, equality, skills, and respect. So communication, we want to make sure that we're talking to our parents, we're sending out texts, emails, any kind of communication forms, newsletters that better suits those parents, but we want to make sure that we're consistent with that. We want to have commitment, which is part of the consistency with our parents. We want to make sure that we're sending these out when we say we're going to send those out. We're being reliable for the parents. Equality. We want to make sure that the student or the parents are provided with the information that they're needed for the students. We want to make sure that we're taking their culture and their culture in mind when we're making the assessment process. We're giving them the information they're needed. Skills, we want them to know that we know what we're talking about. We need to make sure that we're educated enough to educate them. And then respect, we want to address them respectfully. And there's many forms of all of these. We want to make sure there's signage so that they're able to go up to the school and feel comfortable approaching it. We want to make sure that parents are comfortable coming to us, and we need to do all these things to do so. We need to be reliable and a good resource for parents, and vice versa. Parents comfortable with them as well. And lastly is the percentile rank, standard scores, and Stanines. This is the data that is collected for the students to be put into the least restrictive environment to better suit their education. Percentiles is taking the percent of frequency distribution that are equal to or lower to. That's just our regular 90 on a test out of 100, 90%. Standard scores, individual scores that are a deviation from the mean of the score. That's taking the scores expressed as a deviation from the mean score of groups, so of the tests that we're taking. And then Stanines are the standard 9. Each one of these is just broken down a little bit more. So the standard 9 is taking those percentiles or standard scores, such as z-scores, and breaking it down into groups of 1 through 9. 1, 2, and 3 is in the bottom 23% of students. The 7, 8, and 9 are in the top 23% of students, and in the middle is the middle of the Stanine scores. So taking all of these is just breaking down the deviation scores a little bit more into different groups, a different way of seeing it. And to wrap it all up, I guess, is to say that breaking all of these down, collecting of this data, is what gets us to the least restrictive environment for our students. We want to make sure that they're getting the best education possible when we are teaching them. So we're collecting the data, the assessment process. We're including parents in the assessment process, the IEP process, to come up with a plan for students to get the best education. And these are the steps and the ways that we gather the information to do so. So overall, my review over the assessment process for students is that we are there to work as a team to get students where they need to be. Thank you.